Office Deputy Sergeant Brian Dulle was killed at 2 a.m. this morning, State Route 42 in Warren County. A joint investigation conducted by the Ohio State Highway Patrol and the Warren County Sheriff's Office has led to the arrest of Marcus Anthony Israel, 22-year-old, out of Middletown. Israel is alleged to be the driver of the 2001 Cadillac that led Franklin Police in a pursuit and then ultimately led to striking and killing Sergeant Brian Dulle as he was properly displaying stop sticks in an attempt to stop the pursuit. You may have heard reports that our investigation continued throughout the day to the point where we were actively still searching for what might have been a second individual. There have been phone calls with concerns about that. We were in fact conducting that investigation to close up some of the allegations and confirm what we now believe. There was a decision to have a lockdown at the Lebanon High School. That was a decision made by the high school just out of concern at the fact that there might have been a suspect at large still in that area. We have since closed that concern, and we're at least at a point to the investigation that we are confident that Mr. Israel was the driver of this vehicle. I will defer at this time to Prosecutor Fornshell to discuss about the charges that are going to be filed against Mr. Israel.
First, I want to thank Sheriff Sims and the Warren County Sheriff's Office as well as the State Patrol for their excellent work today under very trying circumstances. Based upon the information that law enforcement was able to obtain earlier today, the Warren County Prosecutor's Office intends to seek charges against Mr. Israel. We have grand jury coming up on Friday morning. At this point in time, those charges will consist of involuntary manslaughter, which is a felony of the first degree, as well as failure to comply with the order or signal of a police officer. That is a felony of the third degree. Again, those are the charges that we are charging him with at this time. This is an active investigation still. We're in the process of assisting and working with the Sheriff's Office as well as the State Patrol to follow up on some additional leads and obtain some additional information, and there is certainly the chance that additional charges will be added at grand jury when we present the case on Friday morning. But at this particular point in time, we are going to charge Mr. Israel with the involuntary manslaughter charge. Again, that's a felony of the first degree, as well as the fleeing and eluding or failure to comply with the order of a police officer. That is a third degree felony. At this particular time, I think the Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Sims and I would be willing to answer any questions that you might have.
Can you tell us what the original cause, the reason he was running from police was?
There are still going to, no. There are still pieces of the investigation that we are putting together, and there are going to be parts of this investigation that we will not release. They may be released in the next few days, but at this particular point, we are not able to release what the original pursuit was for.
Can you tell if there were others involved in the car? Was there another person in the car? Do you believe he was alone?
Our investigation at this point now leads us to believe that he was alone in the vehicle.
Now, initially, what made you suspect that there could possibly be a second person involved?
Well, without giving away details that we're not able to at this particular time, most of the reason that led us that direction was purely from Mr. Israel himself. Mr. Israel has been talking with us openly throughout the day, and with those conversations with Mr. Israel, we were able to verify a lot of information that was given and then in fact dispute some of the information was given. Ultimately, we're able to, at least at this point, feel pretty confident that he was the sole person and then the driver of that vehicle. No other information other than Mr. Israel's own words led us to believe that there was another occupant in that vehicle.
Does he have a criminal past, or do you know anything about his past?
We're still in the process. There is some criminal history there. We're still in the process of trying to verify how extensive that is, but we can say that there is some criminal history in the past.
Do you believe drugs or alcohol were involved in Mr. Israel's actions?
I don't have an answer for that at this time.
Can you confirm that he was driving a stolen car?
Actually, I cannot. There has been some conversation about that throughout the day. We are still in the process of trying to verify the validity of whether, in fact, this was a stolen vehicle or it was a loaned vehicle, and we're at that point right now, still trying to verify that.
Can you tell us what it means to you to be at this point in the case now, especially moving away from it?
Well, you know, obviously we still have a long way to go, even with respect to the charges filed against Mr. Israel. We still have a lot of investigation to do, but there is some peace of mind to our staff, and I'm sure to the public to some degree that we're able to bring at least a piece of this, maybe a little closer to the end, and at least identify who is ultimately responsible, who we feel is ultimately responsible for the death of Sergeant Brian Dulle.
Knowing voluntary manslaughter is a serious charge, but I think some people might think that there might be even more serious charges that would be expected in a case like this. Can you tell us a little bit about why you chose these charges?
Yeah, certainly. Obviously, based on the information that we were provided today from the Sheriff's Office as well as the State Patrol, the information that we have at this point in time leads us to believe that involuntary manslaughter is, quite frankly, the highest level charge that we can charge Mr. Israel with. It is a felony of the first degree, so I know there may be some view that this is some type of murder charge or something along those lines. At this point in time, we believe the evidence points to an involuntary manslaughter charge. Again, the highest degree felony, a felony 1. So that's what we're going with respect to the principal charge, and then also the failure to comply, which is a felony 3.
You don't expect that part of the charge to change?
The investigation is ongoing. So to the extent that we get additional facts that would lead us to believe that there is a more serious charge that should be brought, I can assure you we'll bring it.
What's the maximum penalty for involuntary manslaughter?
The involuntary manslaughter charge carries a maximum of 10 years in prison, excuse me. The felony 3, which is the failure to control, is a maximum of 5 years in prison.
What was the deputy at when this happened? Was he behind the cruiser or in front of the cruiser?
Actually, he was to a side. He was clearly off the road. Mr. Israel's vehicle clearly had to leave the driving lanes to strike Sergeant Dulle, which helps substantiate the fact that Sergeant Dulle, in fact, properly deployed these sticks. And as I mentioned this morning to some of you, we do know there's an inherent risk when you're out along the roadway with people that are driving, especially if they're driving in a manner that is beyond the speed limit or in a reckless manner as well. So just like to make that clear that he was off the side of the roadway. His vehicle was near him, lighted, flashing lights, clearly marked vehicle, visible by any normal person or driver would not have mistaken that vehicle for not being an emergency vehicle.